Amazing. And the textbook that I read that in describes it as an arms race between the cuckoos on the one hand and the poor birds that end up raising their chicks on the other. And that's one of the ways that they have learned to defend themselves against cuckoo parasites. The other thing that they will do is they will viciously band together and mob the cuckoo. And Kimberline, on the subject of our various bird species, welcome to the Sunset Safari. You're wondering which bird species has the highest population density in our area. I'm just trying to think about the answer to that, because of course, as you will know, the red-billed quelea is one of the most numerous bird species in Africa. We don't see that many red-billed quelea here. We might get flocks of them blowing over every now and again, but it's a tiny little bird, sort of similar to the weavers that Steph was showing you earlier on the Sunset Safari. But I think in this specific area, you'll probably find that something like a hornbill or a grey go-away bird has very high population densities. But then we've also got all of the little birds that we hardly ever see, and I don't know exactly how many of those we have. It's just because the things like the hornbills and the drongos and the go-away birds, they're the ones that are the most prominent, the ones that we see the most often. And black crows, no, we don't. In terms of our bird species, we do have parrots, but we do not get the African grey. The African grey is more towards the rainforests and the jungle areas of Central Africa. It's not a bird species that naturally occurs here. There are a couple of feral populations in the big cities from birds that have escaped from aviaries, but no African grey parrots in this particular area. We've only got much smaller species, brown-headed parrots, Mayer's parrots, and grey-headed parrots, not carrots. Oh, goodness. much smaller, almost parakeet-like little birds. But our long-lived African greys are not from our part of the world. And in fact, they're more up towards where Brent is as we speak, which is, of course, very, very exciting. He is in Rwanda. He sent me a message to say that they had landed safely there a couple of hours ago, and I think he is beside himself with excitement for what is to come. The first ever live filming of gorillas. Now, Charlie, you wanted to know, in terms of our question about Brent and his trip to Rwanda, this incredibly exciting opportunity. You're wondering if it is going to be on the sunrise or the sunset safari tomorrow. It is going to be on the sunrise safari. That is when Brent will be out and about. They'll start their exhibition. No, man, not exhibition. That's not what I mean at all. Expedition. Goodness. Their expedition will start sort of halfway through our sunrise safari, where we'll get to see, I think, a little bit of their trek up the mountain. This is all, of course, depending on how things go. And then hopefully they will find the gorillas relatively quickly, and we'll have it towards the end of the sunrise safari tomorrow. But we shall have to wait and see. Okay, we better find you something on the crest of this hill, because otherwise we will disappear into the depths of the Mulwanini and you'll lose us. Well, where are all the elephants? That was another thing of my thinking of going to Cheetah Plains, because it's been such a hot day. I'm hoping that there's going to be hordes of elephants streaming in from the Kruger National Park to come for a drink there. Okay, so we can go racing off towards Cheetah Plains before it cools down too much. While we head across there, let's go back across to Steph and find out how his lion tracking mission has gone.
Well, welcome back to our car. And for those of you who are just joining me, my name's Steph. And I'm slowly starting to piece together the puzzle that was the lions this morning. Right in this area yesterday, there was a male with quite a big scar on his lip that was mating with a female lioness. This morning, coming out of the area where they were mating was a male and a female. The male split. We found the male at Chelepan, which is about 2 miles from where we are now. The female split off and went to Buffelshoek Dam to a sister of hers that has some cubs. What about the mating pair? I thought this morning, and mistakenly so, that the male that we were looking at was the male from the mating pair. They came from the same area. It was a male and a female track. The track split. He carried on going south into Buffelshoek. But when I saw a photograph of him, I never saw that distinctive scar that he's got on his lip. And so the pieces of the puzzle that were missing, just for me, seem to have fallen into place. We've been looking for the reason that there's so little game movement around Sydney's Pan this afternoon, and I think I may have pieced it together. Let me show you quickly what we have. We're now about 500 or 600 yards from Sydney's Pan, and right here is the track of a lioness. Here, and you see that one there? Yep. And this one here? Not really. Right, this is a track of a lioness, and this is quite a fresh track heading towards the dam. Now what I'm actually thinking is I've actually just spent the last 10 minutes or so on foot backtracking the lions that we found this morning. They walked straight through the area where I think this lioness was lying yesterday. And I think what happened is this lioness and this male have gotten up from where they were mating behind us and walked towards Sydney's Dam for a drink. There they met some more Pride members, another male and a female, that walked back along their tracks, back. It just so happened to be along the vector that they were at, one going towards Buffelshoek Dam, which is in that direction, one going south towards Hoffman's where his brother was, that's in that direction, and they just happened to split. So I think that mating pair are still together. I also think that they are just off of our concession in Buffelshoek, and I think that they are lying up with each other around Buffelshoek Dam, and that's why we're seeing so little animal movement around Sydney's. That's my story. That's what I'm going to stick to. It's not a very fresh track, but it's definitely from this morning. I think that's exactly what's happened. Male and female mating pairs, they don't actually move around that much. When they're mating with one another, it's not uncommon for them to go and join the rest of their pride mates, but generally they look for a place of seclusion, they look for a place on their own. That's exactly what I think is happening here. They came for a drink, they met up with some of their pride mates just happened to walk straight through the area that they were in the previous day, thereby confusing me and confusing the tracks and everything going on. Yes. More so, I'm sticking to that. Here's the tracks of the male. So there was the female. Let's see if I can show you the track of the male. Substantially bigger. Here's his track there. Here we go. That's a male lion's track. Exactly what you're looking at there. And that is where he walked off. So they walked off together and they walked off towards Sydney's, and that's why we haven't got lots of animals around Sydney's. Anyway, what I'm going to do is let's go and see if we can't pick up any sign of these two wanderers. It's getting to that time of the day, the sun is starting to set, and it's actually taking the temperature with it. It's actually quite astounding. It's dropping. It's now where it was probably, what was 86 when we started the game drive. I'd say it's probably in the mid 70s, if not 70 degrees now, and dropping literally by the minute. And after sunset it'll get cool enough for us to want to put jackets and jerseys on again. Amazing, eh? Just putting all these pieces together. It's been a day for that, I must be honest with you. Lots of activity around the last couple of days. Now we've got animals moving around and moving from where they were static on kills and static mating with one another and sort of sedentary around babies, and they're starting to move out and they're leaving tracks of their passage around, and it's left up to us to sort of unfathom and unravel and see if we can show it to you. Just another indication that we're doing this all live. It's nothing scripted. We go out in the afternoons basically knowing about as much as what you do, with a couple of hints here and there. We sometimes have trackers and we sometimes have other game rangers giving us their opinion on what is around and what's going on. And that helps us definitely. And then there's a lot of staff that move around during the middle of the day and are able to give us updates, of course, as to what they saw during the day. But it comes in drips and drabs, and to be honest, we literally get into the vehicles with you in the afternoon 10 minutes or so before, and when we say hello, we know about as much as what you do about what's going on. Alright, I think this is going to be the last time that we check this pan today. I think I've done this block around this dam probably 6 or 7 times already today. Every time you see something slightly different, let's see what's here, and nothing. Just makes me believe that we have got something lying up here. Not much at all. I'm going to take a little bit of time though to just scan with my binoculars. Quite often something will be lying in the open that you miss here, dismissing it as a figment of your imagination. But I see nothing. You see anything, Dave? No? Alright. And based on that, I think we go into a different area. I've got a question on that pot I found, and it's difficult to hear you, but I think it's from NH NATO. We have got no more information on the pot I found. I had a brief meeting with the owner of Djuma Game Reserve, Yuri Moorman, last week on Wednesday, and he is so busy at the moment. He's really finding it difficult even to spare 20 minutes of his time on this particular property at this time of the year. He said to me, please just hold on, he will get to it and he will see me in the next couple of weeks or so. But he didn't give me a date, but as soon as I know, I absolutely will let you know all about it. Probably trying to share it in one of these short stories that we like to do so much, or we'll just go there on a walk and do it while we're on a walk with you. But right now, no more news. So it stays, for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, during the Father's Day shows a couple of weeks back, I found a pot, a clay pot in a termite mound. Its origins unknown. It could be a burial pot. In other words, it could be an appeasement to the ancestors of the family that lives in this particular area, or it could be a treasure pot. One of the two. We have yet to determine which one. The only way that we're really going to do that is to take members of the family that have hereditary right on this particular piece of land to that clay pot and see if they acknowledge it as a burial pot, as an ancestral pot. In that case, we're not going to be touching it. It needs to stay there. But if they don't acknowledge it as a burial pot, then they will decide with the landowner what's going to be happening to that clay pot. Do we leave it in situ, or do we excavate it and see what's inside? It's all a bit of a mystery at the moment, to be quite honest. But one that's really kept us going for a number of weeks. We were speaking about it literally 2 days ago around the dinner table. Really quite interesting, I must be honest. We've got a question coming through from, I think, someone Gorilla at the moment. My comms are a bit scratchy at the moment, but anyway, I'll answer it. What's Kasi, you think? So, what is the largest termite mound that I found, and how long do I think it's been growing there for? Well, that's a source of much debate, to be honest, as well. The largest termite mound that I think that I found is on Cheetah Plains, on the access road into Cheetah Plains. There's an absolutely giant termite mound that's there just at the entrance to Cheetah Plains. Quite easily the tallest, biggest one that I've seen. There's a couple more out here that are definitely bigger in terms of width, but none that are wide and as high as what this particular one is. And then there are a couple out here that have trees growing on them. Not that the termite mound has grown around the tree. Literally the tree is growing on the termite mound. And these trees are anywhere up to 600 or 700 years old. So at least 600 or 700 years for some of these big termite mounds. And what's even more mind-blowing for me is to decide whether or not these termite mounds are one single family that's just had a succession of just different queens over the last 700 or 800 years, or does a colony die and then it's repopulated by a different colony and then grows a little bit bigger and then grows a little bit bigger again. I don't think I've ever read the answer to that particular question. And why don't I pitch it at our audience right now? One of those things that we can't do out here is know everything, and it's so exciting to get your feedback and your help in basically unraveling a mystery like this. So I pitch a question to all of you out there. What do you think, or what can you find that lends some evidence to either a termite mound having a succession of the same family basically through the ages, or is it a colony that dies down and is repopulated and dies down and is repopulated? You don't have to give your answer right now. You can give it to me later on in the day, tomorrow, next week, whenever. Send it through via email if you want to questions@wildearth.tv, and I'll read out, or if I can memorize them, I'll memorize some of the better ones for us to go and do on one of the shows here. And we have some arrow marked babblers. Not a bird that is easy to identify just by looking at it. They're rather drab brown, and only when you really get close to them do they have this white chevron on their chest, but their noise that they make is distinctive. They got this babbling noise, and the fact that they are gregarious. Yes, that is one there. The couple here, probably about 10 or 12 or so. 258, I'm going to show you in my book. Dave's doing a fantastic job in really difficult light to try and keep his eye on them. But that is the bird that we're looking at. This one here, the arrow-marked babbler, and it gets its name from those arrow-marked chevrons all over their chest. You can see a pretty drab brown bird, very gregarious, likes the drier areas around here, and one of the more common of the brown birds that we find here. When you get up close and it's in the breeding season, you really get to see that eye, and they can sometimes in camps get very used to people, and you can get that yellow-orange eye. It doesn't look that bold in the book here, but definitely is a really bold color when you see them up close. One of those distinctive bushveld birds. All right. And on that note, and Hannah has just wanted to know if there are any parrots out here. Hannah, yes, we've got a parrot out here. We've got the brown-headed parrot, and I'll just show you that quickly on page 66. One of my favorite birds. I absolutely love the parrots. You find them all over. I've traveled Africa top to bottom, at least all the way up to East Africa, looking for specific parrots. This is the parrot that we find here, the brown-headed parrot, the most common of the parrots that we find here. And a little bit above where we are right now, right on the Limpopo River, the brown-headed parrot starts making way for the mayor's parrot. The mayor's parrot. And then as you go further into Zimbabwe and into Zambia, you start finding the grey-headed parrot, a little bit larger now than these two. And then for some reason the parrots change, and they become lovebirds. And we find these lovely rosy-faced lovebirds that start to inundate the bushveld. That's in about Zimbabwe, Zambia. You get the black-cheeked lovebird, a bird that only occurs on the Zambezi River right at Victoria Falls. You have to go to Victoria Falls just to see this parrot. And then I think if we turn the page, no, there's no more. Just that rosy-faced lovebird, and then this black-cheeked. Alright, and on that note, we're going to send you back to Jamie. Enjoy.
Perfect timing. You have arrived as I have arrived at three in a row pan, which is now one mud wallow, one dry pan, and two mud wallows in a row. Two mud wallows in a row. The 3 in a row pan name is continuing to change as Cheetah Plains alternates between water sources out here, and the reason that they're doing that is so that they reduce the impact a little bit on an area around the water source, because this is basically the only water source in this area. There's a little bit at Nkuhuma, and then there is the 2 pumped pans in this area. Shame, and this poor chap here has obviously had to go wading into the pan itself in order to get himself a drink. Hello, boy. Time's a little bit tough. Now we've got exciting news, because it looks as though there are tracks for Shimbambalana coming into this area, so we're going to be checking extra carefully for him. A leopard that I have never seen before, who is dominant in this area. So that's what we're going to be looking for, but for the moment we have a zebra with socks on. Shame, and he's still thirsty. And that's obviously where the socks have come from, trying to get through to the water. Shame, boy. There's some water at Cheetah Plains pan. Go that way. Go that way. This isn't going to be very nice for you. These sightings become more and more heartbreaking. Looks like he's trying to decide what to do. I've spoken before about the fact that the animals can actually get bogged down in mud like this. Now, it's unlikely to happen to a zebra. He's big enough and strong enough to move through without any... he will have difficulty, but he's unlikely to get stuck. But for things that are slightly lighter in weight with sharp hooves, like impala, and a much higher center of gravity than warthog, it becomes very, very tricky. It's okay, boy. We're just watching you. Don't worry. Shame, boy. You must go east. Go east, there's water there. I also bumped into Mike, who said that the elephants are repeatedly trying to dig up their water pipes that pump the water in this direction. That's because elephants are... Shame, boy. That doesn't look very nice at all. Rubbing the mud off his nose that he managed to acquire. Not successful. And he's decided not worth the amount of mud he'll have in his mouth. He's given that up as a bad job. I wonder if he's going to try... No. I was going to say maybe he'll try at the other pan, but I think he's just decided he's going to move on and back towards Cheetah Plains pan. And Safari Dean has said that with our zebra's stockings, perhaps he is doing his best Nyala impression. The Nyala bulls, of course, have those glorious stockings up to their sort of the middle of their legs, And our zebra, you're absolutely right. Our zebra has done a very good impression of that. Or attempting. Maybe he thinks he's an Inyala. Maybe he might be going towards the other pan. And he might actually have more success there. Let's just reposition so we can watch him as he goes to drink. I do want to see that he does actually manage after all of this time. Let's just wait to see what he does. He's moving in a very circumspect way around the outskirts of the pan. Pays to be exceptionally careful around water points like this. He doesn't know what's lurking around. A breeze is starting to pick up, and he wants to make sure that his approach is a safe one and that there's nothing waiting to ambush him as he goes to go and drink. It's okay, boy. All looks fine here. I'm not sure he is willing to take that risk. Slowly but surely, constantly alert. He is on his own, so he doesn't even have the advantage or the safety in numbers that a zebra in a herd does, which will mean that he is even more nervous, because as soon as he bends his head down to drink, he knows that he's going to be vulnerable, and in fact I think he's given up on it. Decided that it's not really worth the risk. Okay, let's move on. I don't want it to get to too late before we head to the Cheetah Plains open area. We might even be able to get a view of the sun as it goes down, and that's such a perfect spot to go and watch the sunset. And of course, look for Shimvambalana. Unfortunately, my Cheetah Plains radio has stopped working. No, we'll have to be driving a little bit blind at the moment, trying to see if we can't figure out where everything is. Luckily, I bumped into Mike, so he was able to pass on that update. And Aqua, yes, as far as I know, well, I mean, look, there's 53 different African countries. I'm not familiar with all of them, but as far as I know, most of them, at least in the southern hemisphere, we do drive on the left-hand side of the road. I'd find it now, with years and years of habit, driving a stick shift or a manual car on this side, I think I would find it incredibly confusing to have to swap around. So I've actually never driven in a place where they drive on the right-hand side of the road. I think there might be some countries up towards North Africa that might drive on the right, but for the most part it is at Southern Africa, definitely left-hand side of the road. I would find it infinitely confusing to have to swap around. When I recently went back to the UK, I accidentally found myself driving through central London. I got lost. That is not somewhere you want to find yourself, even if it is on the left-hand side of the road. It was nearly disastrous. It was utterly by far the most terrifying driving experience I've ever had, driving through central London. Just going to do a quick check of the open area and then make our way further north towards the Nkuhuma boundary. I know Mike is checking up in that region, although he'll have to communicate through smoke signals in order to tell me if he's found anything. Okay, we're coming up to Cheetah Plains pan, which is pumped. Of course, everybody's exceptionally excited about Brent's trip to Rwanda in order to film the live gorillas. Now, one thing that he joked about before he left was the fact that he's going to drive Graham mad because he's going to want to stop for each and every single bird. And we always encourage our viewers to keep a bird list, keep track of all of the different birds that they see on the live safaris. Cindy, I don't think it would be illegal to count the ones that Brent sees, and you could just start your own list, or a new list. Birds of Rwanda. And there's so many amazing things that you could see there. I know Brent was looking for, really excited to see species that he has never seen before. Now you may find in typical Brent fashion that he becomes incredibly distracted in the middle of whatever he's doing, and Graham will be shouting at him to get back to looking for gorillas as he attempts to figure out which particular bird is hopping from tree to tree. Oh, so exciting. Alright, here comes Cheetah Plains pan. The trip up to Rwanda on that subject is a 3-man mission. Graham, Emily and Brent. So Susie, Graham apparently is going to be acting as Brent's cameraman, which could in turn be very interesting. I'm not sure exactly what the plans are. I'm actually kind of jealous of all of you watching this particular safari because I'm going to be out in the vehicle and I really want to watch what's happening. I'm a little bit jealous. I'm sure that you're all going to have a marvelous time. Well, the beautiful open area is utterly devoid of life, apart from some turtle doves. At least you know that there is a pan full of water for the animals to drink. But other than that, all is quiet. Too quiet. Why is it so quiet today? What don't we know? Perhaps the strange warm weather that we've been having. Nope. Just the slowly setting sun. Alright, I'm going to carry on towards the Mala Mala boundary quickly, figure out what is happening there. And while we do that, travelling on along a road called Shkankanka Road, somewhat hopefully, in other words Cheetah Road, let's find out how Steph is doing with his search, very determined search for those lions.
Yes, is all I can say to that. And you've actually just got us a little bit before we're about to pull into the den site of the Lioness around Buffelshoek Dam. Now, I've never been to this den site before. I also haven't seen these lion cubs before, and I'm looking forward to it, to be honest. I don't quite know where it is. I'm relying on Dave to point out to me exactly where it is. I see a little bit of a road going in here, and I think that's exactly what we're going to take. Let's get our car into ultra creep mode, not the bad type. I'm talking about the motion type. And let's go and see if we can, if this lioness is there, and if we can see her cubs. I'm actually quite excited. I quite enjoy lion cubs. Watching lions sleep is not one of my favorite pastimes, I'll be honest with you. But lion cubs are very rarely unconscious. I must be honest, on the way down here, I have very rarely seen so much lion activity as I have on this property at the moment. And it's because these mothers with these cubs are walking up and down to their sisters. They are walking backwards and forwards from water and feeding sites and food and kills and back to their cubs to give milk. And they're doing that throughout the whole day. They're not that temperature dependent. When it comes down to that, watch out, Dave. Watch out, everybody. We're going to go through these sticks. I'm hoping that she's here, holding thumbs that she is. I've walked this drainage line so many times thinking it would be terrible to be cornered by a lioness in here. It's quite deep, big game path. It's actually quite amazing that she's been right here on this little isthmus. I can see there's almost a car park here where the cars have gone round in a circle. Around and have a look here. I'm gathering the dens in the deeper side. Dave is just telling me that there's a fallen jackalberry and she's underneath the fallen jackalberry. I don't know why I have this almost need to want to talk softly and whisper, because the car's still making the same noise as it always does. But quite exciting, I must be honest. I'm looking forward to see if we can go in here and see. I see the fallen jackalberry, that's that tree there. What I don't want to do is startle her. I've got her. Alright. She's lying on top of a termite mound. I don't know if that is the lioness with the cubs. She's very alert. It looks like something may be around here. I can see a tail. Is that a baby? Yes? No? Let's see. It is. Lion cubs, I got them. Alright, let's see if we can get a little bit closer now that I know where they are. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to keep our eyes on her, and obviously what we don't want to do is disturb her at all. So I'm going to keep my eyes on her, making sure that I react instantaneously to anything that she tells me. And I'm looking predominantly at her ears. You can see her ears are cocked forward. She's not worried about us whatsoever. I'm looking at the babies, they're not scrambling away. We're taking our time, It's exactly what we want to do, is we just want to give her the benefit of the doubt. You can see her ears are cocked not at us, and the babies are not scrambling away. Just the one tiny little baby just stuck his head into the grass, but you can see that female ears are still pointed far away from us. She hasn't even turned her head in our direction. Look at that. What a perfect den site. Amazing. Now, because mother lions have such short gestation periods, literally just 110 days or so, they do have to give birth to more than one baby. Because giving birth to babies that are not able to really fend for themselves is a risky thing for a lion who has to eat and catch food. So she gives birth to more than one baby at a time, anywhere up to about 6. She then stashes them in these hidey holes and will move the den site every couple of days or so. I see that this particular den site has been used for some time now. There's a variable ocean of roads around here. Oh, she's beautiful. Lovely condition. And she's picked such a nice spot. You can see that alertness that she had when we came in here is relaxed slightly. She's flicking her ears again at the flies, which she wasn't doing when I first came here. It gives me shivers down my spine. I've walked through this very crossing where we're standing here probably 10 or 20 times when I've been in this area. And to know that there's a lioness with her cubs right here. Ooh, a fearsome enemy is a lioness defending her cubs. You absolutely do not want to get on the wrong side of her. I was once charged by a lioness that had cubs hidden in a thicket. She couldn't move away, and because I was so close to her, she couldn't let me move because she's just gotten up. Big stretch. See that she's still heavy with milk. Have a look at those mammary glands on her tummy. And she will suckle the babies until about 9 months. She's moving off. I have no doubt that whatever was catching her attention, she's going to go and investigate whatever it is. She's left the cubs alone on this particular mountain. What that's going to do, we're going to have a look at these cubs for another couple of minutes. Let's just have a look at them. And then we are going to move out. We do not stay around den sites without mommy's present. And because she's left, we will have to leave. And the reason for that is just simple courtesy. These cubs will be ultra high alert at the moment. And we absolutely don't want to overstay our welcome. So we're just going to have a look at this little cub watching his mom disappear. And then what we're going to do is take our leave and go and follow her, really. She looks like she could do with a meal. And there, that cub's now going into the grass there, hiding away. And that's my cue. So we're going to leave. I'm just so happy for that. And while we make our way out of here, Jamie's found a beautiful place to sit and watch the sunset. We'll catch up hopefully with that lioness in a little bit.
We have indeed found a beautiful spot to watch the sunset and just enjoy a peaceful moment in a very quiet African evening. I think let's just sit and watch the sun dip below the horizon in silence for a few moments. Stunning. Look at that haze layer that the sun is disappearing behind. It does almost look like Jupiter. It looks otherworldly, which I suppose is exactly what it is. It is otherworldly. It looks like a planet, like I imagine planets to look. that. It's incredible. Now I feel invested in the sunset. We have to watch it all the way to the end. Also gives us a lovely chance to just listen for any alarm calls or anything that might tell us where the animals are hiding. How amazing do those trees look? They look like veins across the surface of the sun. As we watch the sun dip below the horizon, Theodore is wondering why I'm whispering, and am I a bit afraid I'm going to scare the sun away. The sheer sound of my voice is just terrified of the sun below the horizon. Good point. I just thought it was slightly atmospheric. And going on. Awesome. So, as the Earth slowly tilts away from the sun, or rotates away from the sun, it means for us that all kinds of wonderful things are going to be coming out to play. I'm going to go and check Buffalo Pan. First of all, because I think that is where I found the brown hyena tracks that I saw a couple of days ago. While we do that, Steph has got a lioness on the move.
Do we have this fantastic sun? We now know that that lioness with the cubs wasn't alone. She has her two sisters with her. I've seen at least 3 lionesses here. And so the nice thing is that her sisters have come back to her den site and will help her hunt tonight. And I think that all the lion tracks that we've been seeing around Djuma today are these lions. I think even the lioness that was being, well, not really, no, sorry, let me retract that. I think the lioness that's being mated with is still at Buffelshoek Dam, at Sydney's Dam, and these are the rest of the pride. Getting ready for a night hunting. She's just probably woken up. And true to form, these lions are not very, very far away from Buffelshoek Dam at all. Here's another lioness, so we've had 4 lions actually. Tasha's just wanted to know how the cubs know that the mother doesn't, I think the mother doesn't want them to join with on the hunt, or how do they know when she's back? Tasha, it's as far as I can ascertain after all the cubs I've seen, it's a body language thing. The mothers just give off a sign that that says to the babies it's okay to join or you must stay, and they react instinctively to that. This lioness, I think, is going to get up and join her sisters. At least 4 adult lionesses, one of which has the tiny cubs that we just saw now. Here she goes. That's the mother with the babies. You see she's quite heavily lactating. You can see those mammary glands on her tummy just in front of her back legs. They are full. So let us go around and see if we can see them. Alright, how special is this? Cubs, lioness, blood red sun going down. Feels like I'm driving over the world's biggest puncher-inducing trees at the moment. I'm waiting just to hear a telltale hiss associated to me having driven over a dead zebra wood. Now the trick is going to be to try and get through here without me feeling like an elephant stampeding through this forest. Alright, and I think while I do that, I think the best is going to be to send you through to Jamie, who's probably got an update of what's happening on Cheetah Plains.
Hello and welcome back on the back of our vehicle, and at the mysterious and beautiful buffalo pan I've encountered a mysterious track in the ground, and I think is this what I think it is, or is an elephant playing tricks on me? Oh, hoist ourselves onto the side of the wall here. And let me jump out to investigate, and Gert will tell me if I need to link back to Steph at any point, but I'm going to jump out and see what's happening here, because we have a track in the ground that looks like a drag mark. How very interesting. And let me just investigate. Now there's lots and lots of elephant tracks around, and sometimes elephants drag their feet in a way that creates what looks like a drag mark, but I don't see any tracks here. The drag mark is very clearly going off. Which way is it going? Going in this direction. I can actually see it's consistent. It doesn't stop. It moves all the way in through here now. Unfortunately, it's getting very dark. It's getting a little bit too dark to go for a wander. How very curious. Is there something in the jackalberry tree that I'm missing? The one thing I can't see is any tracks on either side of it that might give me a bit more of a clue as to what's been going on here. I'm looking for something like leopard tracks to indicate what might have made this mark. So what I mean by that is when a leopard makes a kill, or a hyena drags something, they obviously can't lift it off the ground completely, so they pull it along like this. And the one thing I can't find is any tracks on the other side to indicate what it might be. I'm just going to go around this side, see if I can't work out where it's come from. Definitely didn't come from too far along here. No, it didn't. It sort of stops. Came along here and across the road. I don't see any signs of any scuffle marks, but the elephants have walked through here. Oh, the light has got so tricky to try and work things out. Let's go forward a bit and see if we can't spot something around the other side of this termite mound. Perhaps we have a leopard with a kill. Wouldn't that be absolutely marvelous? for the end of our sunset safari. I don't hear any sounds of feeding, which is what would be very useful as a giveaway. It also doesn't look brand spanking new fresh, which is a bit unfortunate. And HKP, you were wondering what I find interesting about drag marks. HKP, I find the end of drag marks interesting. Whatever has moved something from one place to another is what I find interesting about drag marks. The conclusion of the drag mark. I'm just going to go a little bit ahead, check for leopard tracks while I do. Let's go back to Steph and see how he's doing keeping up with his line.
So definitely 3 sisters together here, or sisters or relations at least. They don't necessarily have to be sisters, could be aunties and mommies as well. And then the lactating female has walked back in the direction of her cubs. I have no doubt that she'll just finish a last feed or 2 with her babies, tuck them in for the night, so to say, and then come and join her sisters again for a little nocturnal hunting. Now, this time of the year, it's not uncommon for lions literally to camp out next to water sources. They know that at some point during a 24-hour day, that animals have to come and drink. And they are literally just being the opportunists that they have evolved to be. Nothing cruel about it. Had a drought in 2000 and, I'm now going back a few years. Let me just try and think before I say anything here. It was 2008 or 2009. There was a drought in the Kruger National Park, not quite as bad as the one we're having right now. And a lion pride camped within sight of a water source and killed something every second or third day, to a point where the animals got so used to the lions being there that they used to literally just walk past within feet of the lions feasting on a prey species, go and drink and carry on with their day. There's just this uneasy truce. One sacrifices itself so that the others can live. She looks like this lioness has got a bit of a scar going down her flank. I just want to see if it's not just an overpronounced wrinkle, or it is actually a scar. No, it's just a wrinkle, it looks like. Actually, I don't know so much. Horn and hoof, tooth and claw definitely will give a scar. And that is a scar that means that this lioness is amber eyes. I know James's favorite. Now, because I am on foot, 9 times out of every 10 I'm in the bush and never really get close enough to lion to see distinctive characteristics like scars on the flanks. I don't get to know these cats as intimately as what Brent, James and Jamie do. So for me, it's actually about as new an experience it is for a lot of you who've just joined the show. Oh, big yawn. And back to sleep, which is exactly what lions do. This time of the day, wake up, short exercises, lie on one another, urinate a bit, stretch, yawn, fall back asleep. It's like you lying in the bed on a Sunday morning. They have Sunday every day. There's a herd of elephant that's approaching. They're busy listening intently into the bush in front of us, and I can hear elephants moving through the bush, probably about 500 or so yards away, steadily making their way down to the dam. Elephant will definitely chase lion and are a danger to lion cubs, but not as bad as what buffalo would be. Buffalo definitely would be a deathly danger to lion cubs, and hyena, even leopard and wild dog. Here you can see the socializing that is so typical of these cats. That's what strengthens the bonds between one another. And what she's done is she's put herself in the space of her sister, and she's eliciting a grooming response. For those of you who have pets, they do exactly the same thing. They come and put themselves in your space and elicit you to pet and groom them. And you can see there the two arms over one another, the sisters. Comrades in arms. I know that's a bit cheesy. Probably going to get a double apple juice when I get home for that one. Now, a lot can be said for lion prides, to be quite honest, in terms of their social structures. It seems to be relatively deep and very complex. Not as complex as what wild dog or hyena social structures are, but definitely not just a collection of related females and males. And just recently, in the last year, we've had such a brilliant show with the Nkuhumas having been taken over by the Birmingham boys, fragmenting, losing some pride members, now being brought back together again under the rule of these Birmingham boys, submitting to their mating pressure and bearing babies. We've seen full circle come with these Nkuhumas. It's taken a year. I think when we started to see those Birmingham boys on property last year, I can't remember, I do remember it was quite dry. We saw them for the first time, and we saw them mount their offensive against the Matimba males, and we thought to ourselves, is this going to be over quick or is it going to take long? And I think, as some of us predicted, it took a full circle, 6 months to a year, for the prides to stabilize in this area again and for babies to be reborn, compensate for the loss of the adults that they caused. This time of the night, it's deadly quiet. All the daytime animals settling into their nighttime resting places, all the nighttime animals starting to only wake up and stretch. It's a time of peace and quiet in the bush. And that quickly transforms. Nocturnal hunters will come out within the next 20 or 30 minutes or so. Waterholes stay active this time of the year, 24/7, around the clock. And as you'll note from the variety of different options that we have nowadays to give us angles on all the different watering sources, if you have an eye on many of them in many of the national parks around Africa, they have cameras at the moment on watering holes. And it's a brilliant time of year, from now until the middle of November, to keep your browsers open on these dam cameras. There are some fantastic sights to be had around these cameras this time of the year, in particular at night time. For those of you unfamiliar with a national park called Etosha, I would probably say that that has the most variety around their watering points that I've ever seen in my life. Etosha National Park, I think, have a few cameras around their watering points. Not uncommon to see many, many black rhino, lots of lion. And of course, every other forgotten waterhole and water point in the Kruger National Park has its associated lions and activity as well. Susan in Florida has asked me a question about planning a safari trip. And Susan, it's you coming in winter, you're coming in the dry season. What to pack, where to go, that, I don't know. If you're coming to South Africa, the Kruger National Park is always a very safe bet. And for one simple reason is I rate the Kruger National Park as A, the most consistent good game viewing in Africa, and B, it is quite comfortable and easy to get around in. It's not rough. You can drive yourself around the Kruger National Park. You can stay warm if you forget jackets. You can, there's swimming pools. You can cool yourself down when it's too hot. And game viewing is generally good winter, summer, day and night. And that's why the Kruger National Park is one of the most spectacular wilderness places left on the planet, because of that. You get other game reserves that are more spectacle based, but those are quite seasonal. You have 3 to 4, 5 months of hot action, and then you don't have a lot of action after that. Botswana is a typical case. There are a few places in Botswana. Just go back to these lions there. Busy getting moving at the moment. And while we're watching them move, I'll finish my story. So it all depends on where in Africa you're going to come. South Africa is enormous. Kruger National Park, 400 kilometers from south to north. 80 kilometers at its skinniest point, wide, so massive national park. Okavango Delta, many hundreds of thousands of hectares. Millions in actual fact. You've got Zambia, South Luangwa Valley in Zambia, Liwa Plains in Zambia. You've got East Africa, the Serengeti, the Masai Mara. All of these parks have their special times and their spectacles. One thing I can say after all the years of guiding tourists to these special places is everyone always underestimates how freezing cold a game drive in winter here can get. Definitely bring your ski jacket and many layers. You laugh when I say ski jacket, but you'll definitely thank me if you're coming here in July, August. And there the last lioness goes into the bush. And moving into the bush there. Let's see where they're going. Alright, I'm just going to have to ask Rebecca to have a look through there. We got some lines through that gap in the V. Up a little bit. There we go. They're in there. Elaine Cole has made an observation. Excuse me, Elaine, I was just having a game drive radio speaking into my ear the same time Rebecca was telling me your question. You've asked that, or you've observed that lions have a relationship with one another, and is this rare? Absolutely. Lions are the only social cats that we have out here. They're actually the only social cats in the world. It's actually more common for cats to be totally solitary, very similar to how you see leopard, with only females and babies rarely spending much time together, and loose associations of males and females whenever they're mating with one another. So definitely the love that you see between these cats is one born of necessity. They are social cats. They are cooperative hunters. They hunt prey many, many times their own body weight. If you think about a buffalo weighing 1,600, 1,500 pounds and a female lion only weighing 300 pounds, you can see the big weight discrepancy. They need to trust one another. They need to have this bond with one another so that they can hunt these big animals and they can feed themselves and feed their babies. So yes, it's a type of love. I'm loath to use the word strong emotions like love and hate when we're talking about animals like that. You very rarely see such intense emotion with these animals. I mean, you see rage, definitely. But in terms of hate or love, difficult one. I don't like using that when I'm describing animals. But there's definitely a bond there. That is no doubt. You're 100% right in your observation of seeing a very tight-knit bond and what looks to be quite affectionate amongst these lions. Very similar to how your pets at home have a bond with you, you know. Very affectionate, want to be in your company. Alright, I'm just going to have to update this sighting quickly. If you would excuse me for 2 or so seconds. Station's still static in the Nkuhuma sighting off of Jack's Road. There's one station in this position, no one on approach. Animals are lying about 50 meters or so off of the road on the side of the drainage line. There we go. So I've done my administration for the evening, just updating everybody, all my colleagues. They all have radio systems like we do. They all have their safari plans, and they would have spent the sunset having a sundowner somewhere, or perhaps with a group of elephant or with some buffalo, or at a nice vantage place. And cats are very often a favorite to come and view after the sun has gone down. I must be honest, the Game Drive radio have been very quiet today. I can only lay it down to the fact that there's not too many game drives out. Uncommon for this time of the year. Right, and while we enjoy the last little bits of the sunset and keep an eye on these lions for you, I'm going to send you over to Jamie for an update.
Oh, while Steph keeps an eye on the sunset and those lions, we're driving straight in to the setting sun, or the set sun now, going west and back towards home. And it's such a lovely, lovely evening. The colours are stunning, the smells are stunning, it's not freezing cold. It's just a really beautiful night. Makes me worried though, July always does this. July gets warm and makes you think that summer's coming, and then it hits you with a revolting cold snap that's the coldest it's been all year. So I'm not getting my hopes up just yet that summer's round the corner, but for now, enjoying a little bit of an Indian summer out here in the African bush. And of course this is the perfect time to be out looking for various critters. The small and nocturnal and slightly shyer animals come out to play on a winter's night. The last time I drove this route along Cheetah Plains, I spotted a serval, which is a medium-sized cat that kind of looks a little bit like somebody shrunk a cheetah. Not quite, but kind of. And is one of the rarer creatures that one could see out on these live safaris, or on a real-life safari. And we were fortunate enough to actually spend about half an hour with it as it fed. So I went and I checked that spot, because serval do have regular pathways that they walk, just like our leopards and our lions. Unfortunately, the only thing that was there was a very large bull elephant in must. So we left him, because it was getting dark. I couldn't quite see exactly where he was. He was perfectly peaceful, don't get me wrong, but I just figured it was a bit more sensible to stay on his good side. By the way, an update on the... Oh, hold on. I don't think these leopard tracks were here earlier. I've lost them now. Do a very careful scan of this area. The leopards love to come past Cheetah Plains Lodge. Hard in this light. They've gone off the road. Oh, Robin, Absolutely, that's a very good point in terms of the mark in the sand. You were wondering if it could be an animal with a tail that was perhaps dragging it in the sand. The thing to look for there, and we stopped actually at a leguan track this morning on our sunrise safari. A leguan is a type of very large lizard species that we get in South Africa, and we had a look at that. The trick is to look for tracks on either side. So that wasn't a tail track. There's very few animals. Oh wow, hold on a second, I'm going to stop so we can look at the sky while I answer this. Move my aerial out of the way. Just look at the colours. Oh, it's beautiful. Actually quite nice to just sit and listen for the moment. Look at that. Beautiful sunset. So Robin, that didn't look like a tail track to me. There were no tracks on either side. There's also very few animals that drag their tails. And when they do, they leave a slightly deeper indentation than that mark. My suspicion is that it's not fresh. I think it was from yesterday, and I think it was hyenas. The reason I say that is there's tracks there all the time, and also there is a latrine. There's a hyena latrine right next to Buffalo Pan, so it's obviously an area that they spend a lot of time in. Quite possibly a different clan to the ones that we have become so familiar with, perhaps based more in the Kruger National Park itself, because it's right on the boundary there. And it was definitely a drag mark. There's no question about it. I double, triple checked. Absolutely a drag mark. The other thing that you can sometimes get confused with is an ant trail, but that was definitely not an ant trail. None of this, in an ant trail, the stones and the sticks don't get moved around in the way they had been in that track. James Richard has said perhaps one of our flying leopards that had made the kill, and certainly today has been one of those days where we, especially this afternoon, have missed out on seeing the spotted cats of the Sabi Sand. Can't have brilliant days every day, but I know what James is talking about. We'll be tracking, and all of a sudden leopard track's gone, which has led us to the belief that our leopards either have wings or porthole systems. I'm still not entirely sure which way it works. Or somebody with a stamp, with a leopard track stamp, which would be absolutely hilarious. We should definitely get on that. We are going to go through the dip around Cheetah Plains Lodge now to start heading back towards home, which does mean that we might lose our signal as we go through. I've stopped for now. I think those leopard tracks are crossing back towards Nkuhuma, but I'll keep checking along the driveway because there's a chance that he's utilizing that path on his way around. I have no idea which leopard it is. It is definitely a male. I'm just not entirely sure which one. But while we go through the signal dip, back over to Steph and his lions.
I must say, we're also enjoying this lion sunset sighting that we have going. There's such a peacefulness. Let's see if we can find these lions. It's not totally dark, as you can see. Well, maybe not totally dark, but it is dark. And there through the gap. Let's see if those lions are actually still there. Are they? Oh, they moved off. Let's see if I put some spotlight on them for you. There they are. They are lying pretty far. One of the reasons why I haven't gone into the bush over there is that lioness is lying close to there with her cubs, and me crashing around in there in this vehicle is not what I want to do. So those lioness moved off to her cubs a little bit earlier on. Her sisters followed her. They are lying down in there very relaxed. But one thing I'm not going to do is crash my way onto the side of a drainage line and upset those cubs. And it's a follow-on the question from this morning about habituating these animals to our presence. It's not so much forcing them to conform to our rules. It's literally us just paying them all the respect, and they will tolerate us around them literally for the rest of their lives if we just treat them with a lot of respect. And one of the respects that I pay these lions is when they go into thick bush like this with cubs, I do not follow. We can always come back and look at the cubs tomorrow. Tomorrow's another day. The beautiful thing about the Safari Life product is that you can literally come on Game Drive with us every day for the next, hopefully, years to come. Unlike tourists who come and go very frequently. You can see those lions lying down there. Now what I may suggest is that we actually, I suppose we can spend the last couple of minutes of this drive right here. They might get up and move towards us. What I suggest then that we do for the last 7 minutes of this drive is drive around. I think it's pretty safe to say that we're not going to get a better view of these lions from here. So I think let's call it a day. We had a lovely sighting of those cubs, albeit fairly quick. I know to augment all of you, the sightings was lovely for me to see those cubs for the first time. Mother left, we joined the sisters for a little bit as they got going with their day. They're sleeping here. I have no doubt they're going to hunt tonight. That lioness that's lactating, she looks like she needs to have a meal. She's got a lot of milk at the moment, but she's looking quite lean, and it's because those cubs are quite hungry. It's quite a lot of energy is used in milk production, and she's going to need to put a lot of that energy back. So holding thumbs for these sisters tonight, that they pull something out of the bag. Hopefully they kill something big like a buffalo or a zebra, and those cheeky males don't come and steal it from them. I think for the next couple of minutes of this drive, why don't we take a drive around and see what's approaching this dam. And perhaps what we can do is put a small wager on what we think they're going to kill tonight. And of course I'm being very optimistic by saying that. So, what is this? A stump. I'm just going to have to call in the fact that I'm leaving this particular area, so just give me 1 second to do the administration. Mobile stations, I'm going to be making my way out of the Nkuhuma sighting off of Jack's Road. There's static on the western side of the road, 50 meters down the drainage line, on the bank of the drainage line, on the southern bank, so not visual, about a 1 out of 5 visual from the road. Alright, so there's my admin done for the evening. Excuse me, coughing like that. Alright, now let's go and see if we can find something approaching this dam. I definitely have heard some elephant. There are elephants in the area, hopefully a little bit closer now than they were. And when we were leaving the den of the lion, we bumped into a herd of zebra that was probably numbered around about 15 individuals. It was quite a large herd of zebra. James Richards asked me a nice question, and it's in the wording of this particular one that my answer is apparent. You've asked me if I had to spend an entire day with a big cat, lion, leopard or cheetah, which one would it be? James, it would definitely be a cheetah, only because they are active during the day, and for me to spend time with sleeping leopard and lion, as exciting and as beautiful as what they are, I'd much rather be with an active cat. So definitely if it was the day, it would be a cheetah. At night time, probably, I don't know, I'd have to flip a coin for it to be either lion or leopard. Here's a little baby scrub here. And that also gives us a chance to switch off the car. That obviously the lions will not hunt. A little bit too low. They will chase it. I've seen cubs chase scrub hair. Usually the scrub hair gets away. Oh, here we go. There's an elephant hiding behind a bush, doing a very good job. Quite amazing. These are the elephants that I heard very close to those lions and that lion cub. This elephant definitely isn't stalking the scrub hare. He's busy devouring this red thorn acacia. Right, and I think on that note, we've just had such a beautiful afternoon. I just want to thank you from myself and Dave. Thank you very much for all your questions and thank you for your support. It's lovely hosting you on Game Drive and sharing our world with you. Absolutely. Thank you very much for all the FC ladies that were feeding us through all your questions and comments. I'm going to be saying goodbye and good night, and I wish you, wherever you are in the world, a happy evening, and we'll see you again for tomorrow morning safari. You're off to Jamie.
And very soon we will also be saying our goodbyes and good nights. I have to tell you, it's not often that I'm eager to return back to camp, but tonight, after my sleepless elephant-filled night, sitting watching an elephant bull browse underneath the full moon, I'm definitely starting to feel the need for a very early night tonight. It was too special to pass up that opportunity though, to just sit and watch him without needing any lights, all the lights off, and him bathed in moonlight, munching peacefully away. I sat and chatted away to him. I don't think he understood a word I said. In fact, I think it was probably a bit irritating to him. But I felt as though we had a lovely conversation. Perhaps he will be back. I hope not. He's not really meant to be inside the garden. And hopefully the elephants decide to leave our poor trees alone inside the camp. Mostly we were concerned about the safety of the vehicles. Hopefully they decide not to try and pull all of the branches down upon the various different spots. We'll have to wait until the sunrise safari to find out whether or not our elephant visitors did in fact return. But for now we have come to the end of another glorious winter's evening out here in the African bush. Steph's right, it's just been such a beautiful afternoon. So as we come to the end of our sunrise safari, a big thank you to Gert for his wonderful camera work as always, and for the pleasure of his company as we head back and wend our long way home. And thank you to Rebecca and Lou in Final Control for keeping us under wraps, or keeping us under control I should say. And most importantly, thank you to all of you watching across the globe. I hope you had a marvelous sunset safari and you're excited about the gorillas. We'll catch up with you tomorrow on the sunrise safari. Bye bye everybody.